Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on December 6, 2019, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat, as we continue our discussion over the universe of Greedfall. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the advanced session of the week's exploration. Congratulations to those who signed up for a deeper dive. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the Saint 14 apologist, I suppose. Green-eyed music lover.
One that's not that's needed on this group, but
right.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And last but definitely not least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, and really honestly the expert here, we have our good friend Azrael-7. Azrael, how's it going?
I'm doing all right today. It's been a day, but the past week I just grinded out my dredging title, picked a name, so
nice.
Finally got that done. I was super excited.
So, okay. Do you know the story of Blue and the dredging title?
Vaguely, yes.
Listen.
And Shizzler?
Shizzler is obsessed.
Who is currently streaming.
Is he really?
Shizzler, yeah, he's currently streaming. He's pretty obsessed with getting Blue to get the dredging title, because Blue refuses to get the dredging title for multiple reasons, foremost being the fact that he has to play
Gambit.
Oh.
It's
Gambit
not
is
even a
my
moral
favorite.
reason.
I am
it's just
sorry.
like
Gambit
it's just
I
like
love.
No.
Only because
Oh
I can
my
get heavy
goodness.
ammo and a lot of it to go invade and just slay out. That's it. In Prime, I'm an invader. Like, that is my thing.
I'm a sentry. I like ruining your day as an invader. I am that sneaky sentry that will snipe you from across the map. But
I hate sentries who have snipers.
But
I can usually deal with them, but if they've got a sniper, it's over. It's over.
But I don't have a sniper. I have something worse.
You have a knuckle bow.
I have a bow that does not give you a red glint to show you where I'm at.
I love using that thing against invaders too.
It's so much fun. It's good. It's good. Anyway,
well,
back to Greedfall.
Yeah, enough with our chatter. I know everyone's looking forward to diving into the discussion kind of in more detail than what we did in the intro session, obviously. And this episode is going to have spoilers, right?
Major spoilers.
I'm remembering that. Okay, cool. Okay, so just a warning if you have not played through the campaign of Greedfall,
or you're going to,
you have been warned.
Yeah.
Here there be spoilers.
Minor and major, definitely.
So I know we're not going to do necessarily the same kind of questions, but I do want to do a question that kind of introduce the gameplay a tiny bit, because we talked a lot about the world, the basic world in the introduction episode, but with this one, and I know Blue is wanting to do like the standard intro notes, but I want to do this first.
Oh, no, this one we'll just jump right in.
Yay! No intro notes. Awesome. So with this one, when you're playing the game, you have 3 character types that you can play. You can play magic, melee, and what was the third one? Is it
technical?
It's like warrior.
It's technical.
So like an artificer type character, right?
Files, traps, and rifles.
Gotcha. So you have those 3 types. When you're playing, it's third person?
Yes,
I'm assuming.
It's third person,
like over the shoulder kind of third person type thing. When you're playing, is it pretty feasible to play just however you really want to? Can you just stand back because it's not an open world or a massive world where you have other characters running through?
It's strictly single. So
gotcha. Okay. So does it feel, is there a game that it would relate to feel wise as far as mechanics of playing?
I would say Assassin's Creed and one other that I can't even remember the name of. It slipped my mind as soon as I said there was 2.
Okay. So Assassin's Creed in that close melee
Right,
movement type thing, you're not necessarily doing finishers, are you?
No. You can do extra damage for creeping up on people, but that's about it.
Okay. So kind of Skyrim,
Right,
Assassin's
that was the other
Creed.
one. Skyrim, yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So we're playing through the eyes of a particular character in this, and everybody has the same character,
Yes,
right?
though it is customizable.
Okay.
So you can customize your character kind of how you want. If you want to go beyond the traditional scope of character creation, you can download a certain mod that you can give your character like neon hair colors and stuff. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. But
Okay. And it's available for Xbox, PlayStation, and
Yes.
PC? Gotcha.
Right.
Cool. So can we talk about Mr. Sardine or Sarday?
Sarday? Yeah.
The magic sardine!
So, basically, like I said in the introduction section, that I'll go back over that if I can speak. Oh my gosh. Your faction is the Congregation of Merchants. You don't really kind of get to know a lot about the Congregation since you're playing as them. You kind of have to go into the lore to kind of get a concept of who they are.
Oh, so Sarday is part of the merchant
he's
faction.
a legate of the Congregation.
Okay.
And we'll get to why. Well, yeah, he annoys me. Some of his lines annoy me, but
Is just a personality
no, it's not
thing,
a personality.
or-
It's a specific line that he says that you have it's a dialogue option that you can basically click, and we'll get to it. That dialogue option below after kind of getting through who this person is, and we'll kind of get into the gameplay a little bit of what you can do with magic and skills and all that kind of stuff. But the best place to kind of introduce Sarday is to read the card. So I'll read the card paragraph by paragraph and kind of just you can read it. I don't care who reads it.
No, just pause real quick. So you said card. There's an actual grimoire in
it's
game
called the
with this
Codex.
one as well.
And it's got
Well done.
it's got stuff on Nodigs, all the fauna and flora you can pick up and attack and fight, as well as all the characters that you meet, or at least most of the characters you can meet. It doesn't have anything specific on each faction. You kind of have to read between the lines of each character you meet to kind of build a picture of their faction, which is kind of annoying,
Okay.
but then you have to kind of go back and they have a budget. It's an AA game, not a AAA. So they've got to cut corners somewhere, right?
But the fact that they have a grimoire or a codex within the game that allows you to go back and read through it, I applaud them for that.
It's useful. It's really what I built the advanced session for, is based on these cards.
Nice. So, Sarday, Mr. De Sarday, which is kind of fun to say, you have a card on him.
Correct. And just before we hit up the cards, I just want to say that these were tailored to the way I played the game. It updates the card, your card, as well as your companion cards based on the choices you make.
Interesting. So your card may not be the same as somebody
Correct.
else's.
So I will touch on points
that's a cool
that I
bit.
know for certain change throughout each character card, because I know the major points of where they change, but I don't know the individual nitty-gritty details of all the changes, but I will point out the major in cards that a major choice could have gone.
Nice.
So if you, green, or blue want to read the card, that's awesome. I can read it. It's really up to you guys.
Here. I'll read it, and I'll let you explain it and kind of talk about it a little bit more afterwards. Sound good?
Awesome.
Brought up at the court of Prince d'Orsay and his son, Constantine, you have benefited from the best tutors and masters of arms. As skilled in combat as in games of the mind, you have shown an early aptitude for light magic. Your cousin has been more calm and thoughtful than ever, and you have always tried to protect him from the annoyances he has the power to attract. which has earned you the respect of your uncle and probably the appointment as legate or legate. Legate. Gotcha. In other words, the senior diplomat on the island of Tefradi.
Yeah, you have to hear them to be able to pronounce them, like I said.
Yeah, I gotcha. It is with a heavy heart that you will have to leave behind your mother, suffering from the Malachor and close to death, but the opportunity that is offered to you away from the deadly atmosphere of Serene to accompany your cousin and to discover new shores is not one that cannot be refused. You finally understood where this mark came from, that the natives all recognize as that sin of Manawi. Sino-Manawi. It's 3 words on there, so that one's interesting. Your parents, your real-life parents, were from this island. Your mother gave birth to you on the boat that has brought her captive to Serene, where the prince decided to entrust you to his own sister who raised you. It is safe to assume that the prince, doing nothing at random or out of kindness, hoped to use you to facilitate the colonization of the natives, since he decided to jeopardize the centennial alliance that linked the congregation to the Knots, thus allowing the revelation to the world of the existence of Tirfridi and its conquest by the nations of the continent.
So yeah, like I said, major spoilers, but
Gotcha. So
yeah.
So the mother was taken from the native land, that Tirfridi, and brought over
to the continent of Serene, or the continent Serene is on. Correct.
Okay, so did she have sardine?
Sardine?
Yeah, sardine. Sarday, there we go. Did she have him before coming over, or did she have him after coming over?
Interestingly enough, she actually gave birth on a Knot ship, making you seaborn.
Okay, so you have all these different connections.
Correct.
Not only are you powerful at arms because you had different tutors, but you also show an affinity for magic and intelligence to work with the other group. So you're the perfect diplomat.
Correct. And this was not out of kindness like the card says. Your uncle very much has a plan for you. He's going to use you to accomplish his goals.
As monarchy or ruling classes tend to do, it seems. Gotcha. Okay, so what would be different in this card for somebody else who may not have played the same way?
This card is actually pretty consistent because you have to find out your roots, and you go and find out that you're actually a native that has the mark of Manawi, which means you're kind of connected to the land. You weren't actually connected to the land. Your parents were. And they kind of passed down that link through genes, if I had to put it lightly.
So instead of the like the shaman-like character, the head of the tribe or the head of the grouping character who takes on the mark immensely, you have like a basic clan-like mark.
Yeah, it's on the left side of your face, covers your jaw, and it's pretty big. It's very recognizable.
Looks like a goatee.
No, that's the tattoo you can get. The
gotcha.
The birthmark is
mixing those up a little bit.
Call it takes up most of the left side of your cheek and jaw.
Okay, so you're this character who is, I'm assuming, entrusted by the merchants and the uncle to go and do these things.
Right.
And you're uncovering all those different aspects as you're going through the story.
Yeah. And you go back and tell Constantine, who's the governor of New Serene, just newly appointed, that you're not family, and he flips out. Because you were there.
Doesn't he already know?
The time.
Okay, so he doesn't know when you start this that you're not family?
He goes with you believing that you are blood related. And that mark, the Omanawi mark, is a birthmark, pretty much.
Okay.
And when you find out that you were originally native and then seaborn, he flips out. And afterwards, after he calms himself, he's like, even though we're not related by blood, I still consider you my cousin. Which makes the ending, which I won't spoil quite yet, or...
Oh, gotcha.
So much harder. It makes the ending so much harder.
So, okay. So we have that. We kind of talked a little bit that you can take on 3 different fighting styles, whether it's magic, technical,
Correct.
or warrior.
Right.
So blades for warrior, melee only character, or does he get any sort of ranged weaponry too?
It's mainly melee. You use swords.
Okay.
When you're a warrior, you use 4 types of swords: light, one-handed, heavy, one-handed, heavy, two-handed, and light, two-handed.
Okay.
For that. Technical is all traps, pistols, rifles, shotguns, and files and bombs at the end of that tree.
I like bombs. And these are all skill trees that you can set up as you're going through,
yeah.
correct? Gotcha. And
And
then magic, I'm assuming it's just like area of effect as well as...
And then direct one target. Healing,
Okay.
as well as kind of like a stasis for groups and individuals to freeze them in spot, in a single concentrated spot, and then go to town on them. If you pair that with
Okay.
a rifle, the stasis with a rifle, oh my gosh, it's so nice.
Wait, so stasis, I thought, was only magic, and then the rifles were technical.
You pick a class, and that's your main class that you can put skill points into. But the tree is completely open, so you can be a
gotcha.
technical. You can. So what I did with my character,
Technical
we'll go into my
magician.
character. I went through the files and the traps. I got my traps. I got my files, and then I got the bomb at the end, allowing me to blow up people, obviously, which is fantastic. And then I went as far as to upgrade my rifle accuracy and damage, and then stopped with the technical aspect. And then I went all the way to heavy two-handed swords, because your output of damage by the end of the game is insane. And then I just got stasis and healing for my character. That's kind of how I played through it.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like Skyrim in that you have the options for all these trees, but you generally should gravitate, or at least many people will gravitate towards a particular play style, but you can flavor your character by adding these other aspects to them. That's cool. Very Skyrim or Oblivion or Elder Scrolls-esque. I've always liked that.
Yeah.
Sneaky. I was always a sneaky jerk face with it. That was an archer, but also threw magic, because I did not like getting close to anybody.
And
anyway,
one of the things I like about the card is that it explains your abilities with the skill trees. You were raised by the best tutors and master of arms. You know how to fight with blades. You know how to talk your way out of situations, and you know how to use magic. Like, it kind of explains your skills, and I like that about that.
So we have this character. He's introduced as kind of a merchant type character in general, or is he introduced in a different way?
The best way to put it, he's introduced as a diplomat for the congregation. Even though, yes, he's a merchant from that group, he was raised as a diplomat.
Gotcha. And so does Uncle send him off, or does the cousin go, like, say, hey, we should go over there together, or is it just because of his mom getting sick? Or
So there's a lot of factors. His uncle appointed Constantine as the governor, the new governor, the replacement governor, I guess you could say, to New Serene. And then kind of said, you go with him, make sure he kind of is okay. And it's also added incentive to go find a cure for the Malachor to help people recover. Downside is your mother has the Malachor, your adoptive mother has the Malachor, and you leave her to die. You can't be there when she dies.
That's kind of sad.
So
We talked about the tree a little bit, that you're able to manipulate to be able to gain different attributes or different skills. Is there an actual attribute grouping that you deal with as well, besides just like the skill
there's
tree?
a skill tree where you put points into. There's another kind of tree, I guess. For attributes, you have strength that kind of pairs well with a warrior, and agility that pairs well with the warrior, mental power and willpower kind of pairs with the magic side, and then endurance and accuracy kind of pair nicely with the technical portion.
Okay.
And every time you put attribute points to one of those, you get to use better weapons for that class, which is nice.
And I see you can do talents like charisma, vigor, craftsmanship, science, my favorite, lockpicking, and intuition. So does that actually just make the game easier in different aspects, like the lockpicking disables traps and stuff like that, as well as picking locks, or is it just kind of the pathway?
It's each one of these has a maximum of 3 that you can upgrade to, and it just makes that specific thing very better. It makes it progressively better, allowing you to pick.
Okay.
For lock picking, you can pick up to level 3 and get, if you're lucky enough or pick the right chest, you can get gold armor. I don't know the exact armor type, but it would be like exotic armor for Destiny kind of situation.
Okay. So that's kind of a nice little basic overview of the character. Your character, right? But you talked about in the introduction episode that you deal with a lot of companion characters.
Yes. And that's kind of where your charisma and intuition kind of come in with the characters and your companions. Like I was saying for Sardine, the charisma is the "Do you know who I am" button. He basically says, "I'm Mr. Desardet, Legate of the Congregation," and he says that every time you hit the charisma button. It drives me nuts. We know who you are in the introductory part of the game. Don't say it anymore.
Right. Okay, so do you want to start with some of the different companions and everything, and just kind of run through part of their stories, or?
So we can do it.
It looks like you have a lot of them.
There's 6, if I'm correct, or no, there's 5, I believe, and they all have their individual stories and quests that you can do, and each time you help them out, you get points, like friendship points, I guess is the best way to say it, towards that specific character. If you don't get enough points in certain situations, they can abandon you. They can just up and leave. It's like, okay. So when I first found that out and got my first quests, I was like, give up on the main quest. I'm helping you guys out so you don't betray me later, which worked.
Do they fight with you?
One specifically, you have a violent confrontation. Yes.
Okay. No, I meant do they fight alongside you?
You can bring 2 of them.
Okay.
Along with you wherever you go.
Yeah, it's like Dragon Age. It seems like you can squad base it.
Yeah,
is it Mass Effect that you do that too?
Yeah, and you bring them along, and depending on the character, they input dialogue. They have their own flavor for dialogue.
Yeah, that's really similar to Dragon Age. Is because I remember I've only played the first one, I believe, but because I'm not a big squad based play style person, but that was they would have different. You would have different encounter, or you would have an encounter, and depending on who you had chosen to bring with you, the dialogue options or the flavor text that was in the background basically would have they would have their own specific reactions to the situation. And then I'm assuming, I don't know if this is the same here, but it would also then transfer into when you were at the air quotes camp, then you could have different conversations with those companions. Does it continue? Do the companions have conversations with other companions?
No, sadly.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not
that's
the
where
camp.
that would be.
Not really.
Yeah. That would be where the similar to, because that was the thing with Dragon Age that was really cool, was watching the companions interact with each other, based off the history, based off the game style that you played with them. So that's cool.
Bringing certain characters together, if they're friendly towards each other, then you kind of have a good kind of dialogue on the side. When you're doing quests, they kind of chime in. If you bring people that butt heads, they kind of say, you got to pick one of us kind of situation. It's
it's interesting
really?
Too, like you said. Yeah, it's interesting that they actually have the capability of having a logarithm that says, okay, we're abandoning you. That makes it actually, your decisions actually have weight. because you have to be careful. Like, that's an interesting component.
Correct. Like, I just lost what I was going to say.
Well, do you want to run through the cast real quick?
Yeah, we can run through the cast. So we can do it two ways. We can go in the order that I typed it on the
document here.
The document, yeah. Or we can go in the order of meeting them.
Let's go in the order of meeting them. That actually to me, that would make more sense, maybe.
Okay.
Or is there a reason that that's a different order? Did you type them in a?
It's
order,
the way that they was ordered in the codex, based by faction.
Ah, okay.
So
yeah, I would say go in the order that we meet them.
Okay. So Kurt would be first. He's a male. You don't really get his age or really any personal background, like age. You get his gender. You don't get like his height or anything, really, which is kind of a little bit frustrating. They should put a little bit more effort into that side, I thought. But he's your master of arms. He's the first person you meet. You go say goodbye to your mom, and he jumps in the middle of the arena and is like, I challenge you to a fight, which is kind of the game's way of saying, okay, this is how you're going to learn how to fight kind of situation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to...
Yeah, and in that specific situation, I was technical, and I was messing with the controls and shot Kurt in the face a few times. I was like,
Whoops.
Oops, that was a quick fight.
This is a practice.
And yeah, I bound all my keys and started shooting him in the face right after that. I was like, I think I like guns.
That's funny. Do you lose points with any of your companions, or like can you upset them by shooting them in the face and stuff like that? In combat,
no. But certain dialogue options, you can lose friendship points with certain characters you bring along.
You can't have a romantic relationship with that character.
Kind of.
I read ahead. I saw that there's one you could choose to have a romantic
you can choose,
interaction with.
So 4 of the 5 you're able to romance. You can romance 1 female and 1 male per player characters. If you're female, you can romance 1 female, 1 male character, and vice versa.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Kurt, like I said, was your master of arms. Not only yours, but Constantine's as well. So I'm going to read that card unless either of you want to.
You're good.
All right. So I just want to say that these cards, I typed them the way they were typed in the codex. So there's mistakes, but that's kind of like a given since it's a French studio who published this in English. So, So the card for Kurt reads, you'd known Kurt for many years when he became yours and Constantine's weapon master. His childhood was tough, and he had a weapon in his hand as soon as he was able to hold one. Although he obviously suffered from it, he does not seem bitter, just a little cynical, and he shows you and your cousin almost brotherly protective affection. Kurt asked you to meet one of his young recruits he wanted to assign to protect Constantine. Alas, it turned out that this young man died under strange circumstances. These circumstances being drowning, sort of, and I'll explain that in a minute. After the investigation, you discovered that he had been sent to a secret training camp and died there. After Kurt was able to discover the location of the notorious camp, he asked you to accompany him there. What you discovered there made your friend angry. Recruits were humiliated, abused, and even tortured to be transformed into conscienceless killers. You dismantled the camp and allowed Kurt to get revenge for the death of his protege. Deeply shocked to learn that Commander Torsten's involvement in this matter, Kurt decided to disobey his orders. I want to pause there. Just keep that last part in mind. It's a big turning point. I'm going to finish the card if I can scroll down.
You could do it.
With the help of Sieglind, Kurt's friend and the new commander of the Coin Guard, you managed to find a trace of the one behind the ghost camp, Major Herman, one of Kurt's former instructors who had clearly inflicted the same abuse on him as the young recruits. This despicable man was burned at the stake, allowing your friend to turn the page on his terrible past once and for all. And that's the end of the card.
All right. Terrible past.
Yeah.
Does this affect you as well?
Not so much. Not in the major course of the the campaign. This is kind of more of a side story to kind of help you, because there's a certain quest called Coup d'etat, which, like I was saying, when Kurt disobeys his orders, it's because I got to the point where Kurt and I were buddy, pretty tight-knit, so he decides to disobey his orders. If you have not gotten him to the friendly status, he betrays you. He helps the Coin Guard stage an attempted coup on the colonies of on San Mateus, so Ptolemy, the Bridge Alliance, which is the Hikmet colony, and the Congregation of Merchants, which is New Serene. And you have to fight off the coup and kind of save everybody. And the major turning point, if Kurt helps you, you're able to catch everybody, or have the potential to catch everybody who's kind of behind the coup, the leaders of the coup. Otherwise, you have to either protect San Mateus or Hikmet. You get that choice because Commander Torsten escapes, if I correct.
Gotcha. Okay, so he's part of the Coin Guard. You work with him at least somewhat part of the time.
Yes.
Can you choose to work with him exclusively? That was kind of one of my other questions. Can you choose to work with certain companions the entire campaign, or
when you work on their
you don't piss them off?
Yes.
Right.
So when you're doing specific quests, it locks that character into your companion slot, one of your 2 companion slots, until you complete the game.
Okay.
Kurt, if you get him up to this point of the coup, if he decides to tell you about it, he's locked in until that mission is over. So if you're doing that, you got him up to that point, but also are doing another companion quest, it locks both of them in and you can't change them. So that sucks.
Okay.
I had that happen.
So after Kurt, do you meet Petrius or Petrius?
Petrus, no, he's a little bit later. The next person you meet is Vasco. So we can save the possible endings until we go over all the characters, or we can go into them right now.
Let's wait until we go through all the characters so you have reference, so people have kind of a grasping reference before you say, hey, this person may hook up with this person or this person, whatever.
Okay.
So we get the introduction. So Vasco is part of the knots, right?
Correct, yes.
Hey,
Blue, do you want to read the card for Vasco?
I can read the card for Vasco, yes. Beep, 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 beep. All right, so while crossing to New Serene had gone smoothly, Vasco was laid off on his arrival by Admiral Cabral, and he seems to deeply resent this. As a Sea Given, he has some regrets about the life he could have had if he had not been handed over to the Knots when he was just a baby. Despite this, he is a proud and loyal young man to the Knots who has risen to the rank of captain through his bravery at sea. A formidable fencer, he does not hesitate to poison his blade to overcome the toughest enemies. Vasco asked for your help to get his hands on the secret files showing where he came from. You slipped into the New Serene Harbor office to find these documents, thanks to which he finally discovered his origins. Vasco comes from the noble D'Arcy family from Serene, and was originally a citizen of the merchant congregation. Always saddened at the thought of missing out on the life that should have been his, Vasco asked you to help him find his brother, Bastian D'Arcy, sent to Terfrade by his family to trade. You had to pull this thoughtless and frivolous young man from the clutches of debt collectors so that Vasco could finally meet him and realize how much he appreciated his not life. Determined to regain the favor of Admiral Cabral, Vasco asked you for your help to accomplish a loyalty mission consisting of finding out the circumstances of the sinking of one of their ships. Having managed to prove that the captain's navigational qualities were not in question, Vasco received a pardon from the Admiral and a new tattoo to prove it.
Okay, so he's kind of the piratey character, but he's trying to figure out his history.
Right. And he goes against the orders of the Admiral to do so.
Okay. But then regains his favor by doing this, like, research into missing ships?
One of the missing ships, yeah.
Okay.
One of the things I find really interesting about Vasco is that he would have been a citizen of the merchant congregation, or the congregation of merchants, which has ties to you, as well as you being born on a not ship. Like, that kind of binds the characters together, if you kind of get my drift on that.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing, though, with this quest is that after you break into the offices and find the documents to locate Bastion, you go find him, but he doesn't introduce himself as a Darcy. He keeps his...
I mean, who would?
Right.
Really? That reference? That's the reference you choose to make. That's the reference you choose in this moment to make. Wow. The fact that I knew you were going to go there, too.
Continue.
Uh-huh.
Well, to kind of continue on the Pirates of the Caribbean kind of theme that you put in private chat, the loyalty mission that you go out on to find one of to locate one of the ships. You find it, it's run aground, and you have to fight a Davy Jones Nadag. Like, the guy has tentacles for his face. It's amazing. But it's also one of the I think it's, if I'm thinking of the correct one, it's the not safe for work one, because all those are they're female. Let's put it at that.
Okay.
They're obese as well, which doesn't help.
So does he follow you even though he's a knot and supposed to kind of sort of stay in port or on ships and stuff like that? Like him disobeying the admiral and following you is kind of your fault, or is he choosing to follow you?
So
or
when
as far
he
as
was
like
laid
having him
off
as a companion
by the admiral, it was basically, you're going to help Sardine with his entire quest until he's done on the island, kind of thing.
Okay.
And then you can go back on ships and go sailing.
Ooh.
Which pisses him off because he, as a knot, loves the sea.
Mm-hmm. So that's his basic introduction. Who's next in our list?
Siora.
Ooh, I'm excited. The native, right?
Like I said in the introductory session, when you're going in to meet Constantine for the first time as governor, she stops you on the stairs of, like, the governor's palace and is like, "You're another native, what are you doing here, and why are you dressed so weird? Why are you dressed in foreigner clothes? Like, what's up with that?" And you're like, "Well, wait, what?" And she's like, "That mark, you're an Omanawi, right?" And you're like, "What the heck is going on here? I didn't even know this mark was a thing. I thought it was a birthmark."
Mm-hmm. So she's the turning point in the story in a lot of ways.
For the natives especially.
Gotcha.
She's the first native you meet through the entire game.
Wait, I thought Siora was a female.
She's a female. She's the one that I said in the introduction.
Right.
That's the first person you meet on the steps. She's the one that's like, "You're a native. What the heck's going on?"
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So, Siora is, I'll read her card. One of the daughters of Bladnid, the leader of Gace Raid, clan of the village of Verdos. She is also their Donagad.
Yeah.
She's a proud young woman, very attached to her people and her mother. She's also curious and seems to want to learn as much as possible about the settlers. Her knowledge of native culture and her talent for magic could be very helpful. Your friend asks you to help her find her mother, who has disappeared on the battlefield. Alas, you only found out that the Alliance soldiers had brought back her body to their outpost. Nevertheless, you managed to bring her remains back to her village. Alas, on your return, you discover that Theleme missionaries had, or
Theleme.
What is it? Theleme. The Lames.
Yes.
The Lames missionaries had settled. Yeah. I like the Lames missionaries had settled there, preventing a traditional burial from taking place. You had to help Siora prove that the so-called agreements made by her mother with the Theleme missionaries had been falsified. I get it once I
hear it enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Once their lies had been exposed, the priests were driven out of the village. You finally helped Siora prepare her mother's funeral ritual and at last allowed her to find peace and let go of the feeling of guilt that was eating away at her from not being with her in battle.
So all this where her mother kind of just kicks the bucket on the battlefield, she finds out when she kind of is helping you negotiate between certain natives. You get to a point of friendship with the natives, and then this quest pops up, and she's disappointed that she couldn't be there with her mother on the battlefield since she was helping you. And you kind of have to...
Oof. So you get some guilt in there, too.
Roasted there. Pretty good, yeah. And you kind of have to calm her down and help her find her mother in the battlefield. Find out that she's not there, but you find an Alliance soldier who knows, and she goes berserk on this guy. She uses her magic to, like, tie him up with the vines from the ground.
Shaman!
Mm-hmm.
I like... Mm-hmm.
And you get the choice to let her kill him or stop it. And if you stop it, you can make him talk, and that's where you find out that they took her mother to a nearby village for reasons of, dissection and stuff.
Because trying to figure out the plague thing. Gotcha. Okay, so after Siora, do we get Afra or do we get Petrus or Petrus?
That's a little bit of a haze, because you can either meet either one of them first, depending on where you go.
Okay. Well, could you tell us about
Petrus?
Petrus? Tetris?
Tetris.
Whatever works. Whatever works. These names throw me for a loop. So, Petrus is by far the oldest of these characters. By far. He's like, if I had to put a number on it, he's like 55. He's old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the picture. He looks like he's at least in his late 40s.
He's
at least
old, which his age ties into his story quite a bit.
Okay.
So the card reads for Petrus, Bishop Petrus is part of the Order of the Missionaries, of which he is a brilliant representative. Skillful in politics and a fine diplomat, he knows how to be flexible about his religious ideas to better achieve his goals. For a few years, he was a diplomat at your uncle's court in Serene, where he knew you when you were only a child. He shows you good-heartedness and paternal kindness, but does not hesitate to use his tremendous manipulative skills to help you achieve your goals. Like any important member of the Thélème clergy, he is also a seasoned user of light magic. Deciding to teach you the secrets of politics and to protect you and your cousin from being manipulated by the Cardinal Mother, Petrus has offered to help you discover her secrets. After visiting the secret room where the governor organizes orgastic events for her guests, you have been able to ascertain her real vice, gaming and betting on arena fights. With your knowledge, Petrus has offered to set a trap to have the Mother Cardinal at your mercy. You had to prove yourself in a coin guard arena and win a fight on which she had bet against you to ruin her. Despite the governor undoubtedly showing her distrust towards you, she has nevertheless avenged Petrus's scheming by revealing to you that he knew your true mother and let her die. To make it up to you, Petrus has decided to help you find your real family. Nobility has provided you with historical records that allow you to go back to the village of Vignerami? Yeah, that's the best I can... Yeah. Native village names are hard. Where your mother was the Donigad, and to meet your aunt. This meeting and its revelations relieved Petrus of the weight of remorse he has carried for years. Bishop Petrus regards you as the son he never had. And that's the end of the card.
Okay.
So doing this quest has really deep implications to your native ties and to the congregation of merchants, the ties you have with them. Just because he knew your true mother and let her die. Also, I should add that in the dialogue you have with him, you find out that he fell in love with your mother. though nothing really became of it. Let's simplify it like that.
I was like, that becomes a little complicated.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so he's kind of a linchpin for a lot of the major stories that relate to you directly to your past, not necessarily like your current events, but still kind of has a hand in current events.
And throughout the entire game, he never uses your name. He just says, my child, and you always say, father. Like, it's that kind of relationship, which makes it even a little bit more weird when you find out that he loves your mother or loved your mother and let her die. It's like, okay, it's kind of getting dicey, but Petrus as a character really makes up for it. I liked him enough that you can't do this in game, but I was like, he's the only one that can call me my child. I will stab anybody else who calls me that in the face. He's just a really good character. They really developed him really well. If I had to relate him to a different character, if anybody has read the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson.
Yes. Sorry. I like that one a lot.
Oh, I love him. He's the only author that I read like for the past 2 years. Like, I'm stuck on him. Anyways.
Julie's finishing the third book for the Stormlight Chronicles right now.
That one's a good one. Anyways.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He's the Sidious of the card. Although he's not...
Sadius.
He's not the bad kind of manipulation, but he is very...
He's not the one that you just want to strangle all the time, but just very hands-on and everything going on.
He's got dirt on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
In points in the dialogue, it's basically like, you want to know what dirt I have on this character? Let me tell you. And he goes on, and it's like, thanks for that dirt.
Indeed.
I'm not going to be able to use it in the game. I'm sorry.
That stinks.
So, if that's kind of his character, he's very schemy. He likes to...
Slimy.
Well, yeah, in a good way, if I had to say it, yeah.
Okay. I mean, Sadius, at points in the book, is not terrible. He's just somebody you want to punch most of the time. But, back to Greedfall, we have one character left who is also very angry, according to Blue, and I'm going to make him reader.
Yes, do it.
The best meme, the meme that I keep fighting with her is, she'll point a gun at your face.
Yes, that... I will go into how you meet her after you read the card. It is a fascinating introduction to her character.
So this is Afra, and it says, a renowned naturalist who had joined Tirfadi to help identify the many plants specific to this island. She has the full trust of Governor Burhan, who sent her to accompany a small research expedition to find the ingredients of a cure for the Malachor. She is a young woman who is passionate about science and discovery, skilled in making all kinds of potions, and very experienced in handling firearms.
Very experienced.
Fascinated by the culture of the natives and convinced she could explain the famous metamorphosis of the natives, she asked you to accompany her to the stone circle of Kragababa, where she met a couple, or where you meet a couple of young natives. I don't even know what that word is.
I didn't try. I don't try. Just go for it.
Kreganau.
What's that Pokemon? This chance meeting allowed Afra to impose your presence in a meditative meeting of their leader, Dunkus? Is that Dunkus?
Dunkus.
In hope... Dunkus. That's a fun word to say. Dunkus. In hope of learning the secrets of the
Donigata.
Although you have learned a lot, the secret of the metamorphosis still escapes your friend. Afra was not ready to abandon her idea and dragged you into a cave of knowledge. A sacred place...
Oh, my.
A sacred place where only the... I don't even remember.
Volundaga. Volgundaga.
And the whatever, oh my
Donigata.
Lord.
Donigata.
The Vols,
Volgundaga and
the
Donigaga.
Dones are supposed to, God, the Vols and the dogs, okay? That's what I'm going with. Are supposed to enter to pass down their secrets. Although you still do not have a convincing, rational explanation for the metamorphosis of the natives, you still had the chance to witness the ritual transformation of one of them. Surprisingly, instead of exciting the curiosity of your friend even further, this incredible display seemed to calm her and make her think about the way in which her nation studies natives and their culture. It is undeniable that Afra changed after this. There are so many opportunities to say phrasing in that description.
Yep, but that's nice that she kind of
calmed down.
Rethinks. Well, she rethinks their, because she's part of the technical group that basically wants to like figure out what's going on science-wise.
I'm gonna go back to the meme. I'm gonna go back to the meme of she'll point a gun at your face but she calms down in the end. Like, I hope so, because apparently she's very experienced in handling firearms.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When she drags you into that cave of knowledge.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
You're going to give us the M rating, and you're the one who is like enforcing not to have it.
I didn't say anything.
That's a stone circle, not the cave. Just so you're aware.
Yes.
Stone circle.
That was where you were.
Kurganah.
That's where you imposed your presence on a meditative meeting.
Yep. She's like, you know who this is, and you're like, this is who I am.
I have this. Like, I got this. I got this answer.
This is me.
But back to when you meet her. So the Governor Burnhand, who's the governor of the Bridge Alliance, sends you to go find this group of naturalists and scientists who went on a journey to kind of figure out the cure for the Malachor, find plants for it, and they disappear. It's like poof, they're gone. He's like, okay, go find them, and you go find them. You find that they're all dead. Pretty much, they got massacred. They're except for Afra, who kind of stayed away from the group. She was the wallflower, the I kind of hate people person in this group. So when you go looking for her, because she's still alive, you go looking for her, and you find this huge tree, and there's a vial there, and you go to pick it up, and Afra drops from one of the tree branches, and like, here's a gun, and it's in your face. Like, who are you, or I'm gonna blow your brains out. Simple as that.
Ambush.
And it was like the perfect scene for that character, and it's like, oh yeah.
And this is the example of a time of when you do not tell a woman to calm down.
Yes.
Blues dating tips 101.
Here's an idea. Here's a clue. It's never the right time to say that.
Especially when they have a firearm.
Yeah, especially when they're very experienced in handling firearms.
Yeah, nah.
Oh man, that meme made me happy. She'll point a gun at your face.
It's legit. It's in your face. Like, she points it directly at your eye, and she's like, you want to lose it? Tell me who you are. You will.
Dang. Okay, so we have the supporting cast, essentially, here. They all have kind of their basic stories in which they interact with you, but they all have their own types of endings,
They all have their
types I like it. I like how there's consequences.
Yep. And there's some big ones, too.
Okay, so certain characters, if you're playing this female Sarday, will possibly end up with them. Like Kurt could possibly
and Ciora are the ones that if you get a high enough friendship level, I guess, you have to go. I don't know if it's either a requirement for friendship points, I guess you call them, or you have to take a certain amount of dialogue steps. It's one of the two. And I'm leaning towards the second one. You have to do it in a right manner, which makes me angry. It should just be you get this many friendship points and the options available. But that's not how they programmed it. So with the female Sarday, for romance endings for Kurt, there's two romance endings. It's either you get the good romance ending for picking the good choice. So two goods. Kurt is regarded as a hero. And though he's offered the opportunity to be Sieglin's advisor, he says, no, I just want to be with...
I go back to
I'll
Sarday.
just go back to Sarday and protect her from here on out, kind of thing.
Okay.
Or you get the option, if you don't get all the clans, the factions
romance.
together at the final battle, he has the possibility to die. And he dies, and the female character just wears a necklace in his remembrance to remember him by. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the two romance endings for Kurt. And Siora is... So she becomes the Maul, the queen, basically, of her clan. But she comes back quite often. She leaves her clan to her twin sister to meet up with either male or female Sarday, whom she regards as her soulmate. It's a really weird word she uses, and I didn't put it in there because I couldn't pronounce it for the life of me.
Okay. So, Native ends up possibly in a romance with you. Romance and death, male friend Sarday wears a necklace, also in remembrance. So, just kind of Rose and Jack from Titanic moment almost. Terrible reference, but, it's fine.
If we're going that direction, I'd lean towards male Sarday and Afra with the cave situation, but okay.
Uh-huh. It works. Okay, so if you have basically a romantic... Do you have a romantic with Petrus too?
No. No. He's the only one you can't. And I lied.
Okay, Petrus...
You can romance 3 people, not 2.
Okay, because Petrus has a friendship option as well as betrayal option. And all of these characters have a betrayal option as well as friendship option, it looks like.
Siora and Kurt kind of have 2 betrayal options because they can betray you and you can kind of betray them. And we'll get to that in a moment. But the other person you can romance as a female Sarday, or a female fish, if you want to go that direction, is Vasco. And I'll say this is my top rated ending of all time, like for the romance option.
Okay.
Because it shows some real character development. Yeah, Kurt does too, but I love Vasco's just because after the battle, if he survives, he refuses the appointment to commander of the fleet to stay by the side of Sarday, whether it's female or male Sarday. He just up and says, no, I don't want it. Mm-hmm. But from time to time,
man,
like it's a big deal for the Knots. And he says, I don't want it.
If he dies, Sarday never recovers. That's intense.
She or he are pretty much broken from that point on.
Dang.
That's the romance death option for Vasco and Afra. They're just depressing.
Interesting. Okay, so you said that's your favorite one. The betrayals, I'm sure, have all sorts of different effects, and I don't necessarily want to spoil all of them. That way, if people do plan to play this game, which actually sounds like a lot of fun, it kind of reminds me of a mixture between, you have the aspects of Fable, where your decisions kind of have a consequence, or I guess there's some more modern games that have that as well. Witcher or Dragon Age, like Blue said earlier, as well as the fighting style of kind of an Assassin's Creed or Skyrim, but taking different paths and having the tree building of Skyrim or Elder Scrolls, or like even Borderlands, although Borderlands is pretty tied up in one style or the other. But I'm curious, if you were to tell somebody who has never played this game what your favorite part of it was, what would you say?
I would point them out to the Afra scene. I love that scene. It is by far one of my favorites.
Just for the comedic aspect? The fact that you have a gun in your face kind of thing? Or are you talking about the cave scene?
No, there's nothing that happens in there, sadly. But the gun, it's surprising, funny, and very good for character development. The coup scene, the coup d'etat with Kurt is another good one. The fight, you have the cutscene fight with Tornston is another good one. Another character that I didn't introduce and is it is important, but not a companion character, is Mev. She's a good one. It's all around a very good game for the budget they had.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, there's some hiccups with dialogue that drive you crazy after a certain amount of time. The click the charisma button of "Do you know who I am?" is annoying, as well as the dialogue options. Well, not options, but when you go in battle with your companions, they shout the same line or 2 or 3 lines over and over and over again every time they're in battle, and that's annoying as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the only other thing that I really don't like is the exotic armor, not the weapons. Some of the weapons are pretty good, but the sets for the armors are more cosmetic than useful.
Okay. That's not a bad
No.
thing, though, in some ways.
But those are
Interesting.
my top pros and kind of cons with it. It's a really good story.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that. I enjoyed the twists and turns. I'll also add, it's not really a pro or con, but you don't really have a main villain until the last maybe 5 hours of your playthrough.
Well, that's probably because of the big reveal aspect
The big
of it.
reveal, yeah, and you have to deal with finding a cure for the Malachor. That's kind of the main motivation for most of the game until certain developments happen and a certain somebody that, yeah, it makes me sad. Like, that choice for me at the end was hard. I will say that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Blue, what you think?
I think that's an excellent place to kind of wrap up and do a quick round of shout-outs one more time and call it a wrap.
A really good
A
wrap.
really good wrap, yeah. No.
Like-
Again, I mean,
Like a turkey wrap with like not Brussels sprouts, but like bean sprouts and everything, a little bit of cheese.
yeah, sure, let's go with that. So I thought you were going to go with the Turduncan example, but that's fine. So real quick, Azrael, one more time for the advanced episode. Is there? I know you linked. What was it? I think it's just the Greedfall wiki, right?
I used that mainly for the introduction and pulled everything out
Okay.
for the advanced session from the codex, because it doesn't. The wiki doesn't go into depth.
And that's
not,
a Gamepedia, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the Gamepedia.
If you want to go in
Yeah.
depth, you kind of gotta play the game.
Yeah.
There's nothing like the resources we have for Destiny, nothing like that.
Okay. Well, and that again, that kind of goes back to what you've said a couple times. Is like it's just they sadly didn't have the.
They don't
It's
have
not
the
a AAA
budget.
title. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like I've played plenty of games that make me think of this. Actually, the game that really makes me this really makes me think of is an old game called Too Human. Was a game. God, I love that game. But yeah. So do you have any shout outs for us for this episode or for this second episode?
Other than the ones that I had for the introductory session, I have one more to the developers of this game. Actually, they actually did a very good job in introducing the story and just keeping it rolling. Like, I didn't think that it would be as good as it was. So shout outs
That's
to
awesome, yeah.
Spiders for making Greedfall. They did a really good job.
Nice. I'm going to kind of tag team off of that one a little bit and do a shout out, not necessarily to the Greedfall guys, although I'm sure they severely deserve it as well. Shout out to someone Blue and I got to meet this summer, John Toe, for an amazing hook into the new season for Season of the Dawn. I know by the time this episode comes out, we'll already be a little bit into it, but I'm excited to keep reading what's going on.
Yeah, and a big congratulations to him too, because he's the acting narrative lead for the season.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing too, I think. And John has shown with the Drifter, with Shax, with Saladin, like especially with Shax, like the evolution of Shax's character, if I remember that correctly, is largely because of his work with him. And and you see that in the Drifter, and hopefully we're going to see that with Osiris and Saint 14.
Saint 14.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the dynamic that John brings to that, and the whole team there as well. They're all different flavors and different approaches. I think is gonna. They have gotten, in my opinion, much more cohesive and even more tightly. It's a very well-oiled machine, I think. And I think it's starting to show, and I think a lot of people are starting to fall into line with agreeing with that assessment of that group. But I mean, that being said, same thing to the Greedfall, because I think the publisher is Home Focus Interactive. You got Spider Games, which is the developer. I mean, awesome job, and again, like we had said at the beginning, I had seen this back in 2017, and even back then when it was still kind of rough, I think, around the edges, it was really impressive. Like, the trailer hooked me immediately. The cutscenes are just really cool, and it sounds, I mean, like I've been sitting here just quietly absorbing just this amazing narrative. Sounds really cool. I really actually kind of am curious, and I kind of going to probably go dig into it a bit myself. So
it's like when I started reading about this game, Blue, it really struck me as a game you'd like.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that it's really pertinent to a lot of things going on in reality too, I think, like with the whole colonization concept and the nature versus industry thematics that are going on in it. And that's to me that's a really interesting aspect too. So yeah, I mean, right, yeah. So big shout out to you guys, and a big shout out to Azrael again. I mean, amazing work. I'm so glad we were able to get our schedules synced up and get this done. This was an amazing job.
And hopefully you are able to still get some rest for work tomorrow, because I know you are staying up late with us tonight for this, so thank you for that.
The latest I've stayed up this week, I'll say that.
Hey,
I know how that one goes. Well, guys, until next time, until next week, goodbye. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusedFireChat. Links to all our episode archives can be found at www.thelorenetwork.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any comments and or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.